Hey guys, Jim here again, and I'm going to do a very short, very fast little unboxing on a beauty I just got in. One that I've been waiting a long time to finally get my hands on. I've been kind of up and down as to whether I would ever lay out the money to get one. I ended up getting this in on a trade, but obviously having to give up a very high dollar knife in order to be able to get it. This is the Rockstead SHIN. Super excited about getting this. I've seen the videos on YouTube and various places talking about the legendary edge, talking about the fact that it's the sharpest knife you're ever going to own, talking about how it holds its edge better than any other knife in the world. Really crazy claims that, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to believe or not, but I could see it was a beautiful knife. But every time I would go to hover my finger over the buy button, on the SHIN, you're looking at usually $12.99 when you can find them. I would end up buying a high dollar custom instead because it really still has the look, for the most part, of a production knife. And I'm looking at that going, $1,300 for that, up to over $2,000 in one of the other versions. Do I really want to spend $1,300 on this when I could get a really super great custom hand-built knife for that? But I finally decided I wanted to put myself out there to find one. So I put a knife out for trade, and I put that at the top of my list of acceptable trades. And I was very fortunate to find somebody that had one that wanted my knife more than he wanted this one, and it worked out great. So without any further ado, let's take a quick look at the packaging. He purchased this very recently, about a year ago, at the East Coast Custom Knife Show, directly from Mr. Hanada, who does all the, the cool demos at the knife shows. I mean, he does, they'll chop it, dried bamboo, then they'll immediately go cut like phone book paper, magazine paper to show that that didn't nick the blade. Because when you're talking about such a high Rockwell hardness, you start worrying about the blade being brittle, and they're trying to prove that they've mastered a way to give you both hardness and toughness in the same blade. This is just your basic care of the knife. One of the things they list on their website is if you're using it for food prep, not to cut food like on a china plate because it'll actually cut through the china. So I find that to be a pretty interesting disclaimer for a knife. This is the paperwork that you receive inside. Let me just kind of flip that open. Gives you all the specs on your particular knife. Mine is numbered 107. Let's see here. It's the SHIN 107. I've got the 571 XR7 blade with 65.4 Rockwell hardness, and it's done in the black coating. So you've got the black DLC, diamond-like carbon coating, HV400. It's supposed to give an amazing amount of scratch resistance, great protection overall for the whole blade. And I've got the Stingray inlay in my handle. So that's pretty much it. Shows when it was manufactured back in 2010. I'm going to put that over here. And here is that beauty nestled within its packaging. They give you pretty nice packaging. It's like a balsa wood, but it's refreshing when you spend $1,000 on a knife and either get it wrapped in a plastic baggie or get it in a $2 Velcro pouch or you get it in a white cardboard box. It's kind of nice to see them put a little more effort into it. Now, the very few videos that are on YouTube, they're usually done in low quality. You don't really get a good chance to see the quality of the knife. And a lot of times the people that are videoing don't really have an optimal lighting setup, so it's really hard to get a look at the blade. So I'm going to start here nice and tight. Give you a look at the sculpted handles. It's easiest just to call this an integral aluminum handle, but it's not exactly aluminum, and I'm going to do a little bit of looking it up before I do the full review video on this because I smell a good review coming. This is genuine Stingray, and it's nice because it's natural Stingray. They haven't hardened it or vulcanized it. See, it actually almost feels rubbery. You can actually feel the Stingray material. It's very cool. And I'm glad it's there because that's the only source of grip on this entire knife. It is very slick, very smooth. This is actually one of the very few knives I'm afraid of. One, I'm afraid I'm going to drop it because it's so slick. And number two, when you get that blade open and you know by seeing other videos how sharp this really is and how scary that blade really is. What I was surprised about was the heft. This actually has a good amount of weight to it. This is their largest size. This and the, I guess it's pronounced Tei, T-E-I, are their two largest blades. These are 3.5-inch blades. You can either get this in the blade that I have in the black DLC coating, or you get the ZDP 189 clad blade that's done in a titanium coating. And this is completely mirror polished, even though it's still all black. And that's where it gets confusing when you see photography done on these. It's hard to tell what's up with the blade. And I'm going to do my best to do some photography on it. I don't know how well it's going to come out. But this thing is super smooth. There's the liner lock. It's a very stout liner lock, by the way. I was worried about it, but now that I have it in my hands, I'm not at all. The operation is glass smooth. Nice detent. It almost feels like it's on bearings. I know that it's not, but it really has that glass-like feeling. And that's probably because the entire blade is completely polished, and maybe they do some sort of polishing job inside at the pivot. But it really is an incredible knife. It's hard to say if it's really worth the $1,300 and the difficulty in obtaining one right now, because I've literally had this in my possession for 10 minutes. But overall impressions are very, very good right now. And I know the first thing everybody always wants to see is the whole cut test. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's just, I'm impressed. I really am. My wife asked me when I first opened it, she's like, so how sharp is it? And I had my Curtis F3 in my pocket, and I did the same type of swoopy, you know, crossing back on itself kind of cutting. And even as sharp as my Curtis was, couldn't even do it. I'm super impressed. I am going to do a full-length video. I just want to do a short one here, so that's your quick look at it. I'll give you one more close-up. And then I'm going to go ahead and end this. I got a few things I got to take care of today. Love that stingray. I wasn't sure about that. I wasn't sure if I was going to like that. Really nice work done throughout this entire knife. Come on, focus. There we go. Okay, so there you go. Be on the lookout in the next couple of days. I'll do a more full-length video. We'll discuss the actual materials being used, the properties of them, how they're doing their finishing, how they're doing their manufacturing, and get a little bit more in depth. And maybe it'll help you make a decision if you're trying to justify the really, really high expense of this knife. Maybe you've been in the same boat that I have. I'll do what I can to, you know, help either validate the purchase or tell you if it's not worth it, you know, because you guys know me. I'll be honest either way. All right, I'm going to go for now. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below.